Some of the tough questions today centered specifically, obviously, around Goldman Sachs, which is the largest so-called investment bank in the U.S. It was recently reformed as a commercial bank in the middle of the crisis. They get all sorts of benefit, including an estimated $14 billion in free money from the taxpayer through AIG. Take a listen to Democratic Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur asking Geithner about the company this Treasury Secretary likes to keep.
Your chief of staff is the gatekeeper for access to you. Could you please provide his name?
His name is Mark Patterson.
Thank you. And for whom did he work before you selected him as your chief of staff?
He worked for the president's transition team.
No, before that. Which Wall Street firm did he work for?
Before that, again, this is a matter of public record, and you know the answer to this question. He worked for Goldman Sachs.
The reason you get so many Goldman Sachs questions is because Goldman Sachs, quite honestly, is incredibly good at what they do and at the same time works in a lot of non-transparent ways and also has received immense financial benefit from all of this, all of which leads to the type of questions you saw there. And joining us now, Representative Kaptur. Representative, you bring up Goldman Sachs, lots of questions with the dealings with AIG, and when they knew that AIG would go bust. There's a belief that Goldman Sachs knew as early as 2007 that AIG Financial Products, which was the insurance company, was already busted at that point in time. Do you think the government should subpoena all emails between AIG and Goldman Sachs going back a few years?
I think that's a very good idea because, in fact, if you look at the people that testified today, if you look at who sat in the White House during the Bush administration, Joshua Bolten was actually the London office manager for Goldman Sachs. If you look at who's the chief of staff for Timothy Geithner today, it's someone from Goldman Sachs. Mr. Kashkari, who's handling the TARP, he was from Goldman Sachs. I mean, is there anybody that isn't from Goldman Sachs? And they had the gall this morning to suggest that the 225 emails or telephone calls that occurred between Mr. Geithner and Mr. Paulson between September 14, 2008 and Thanksgiving, they didn't discuss AIG at all. Doesn't that sound implausible?
It does indeed. It surely does, which sounds like a reason to ask a few more questions and maybe dig a little deeper, especially when you add to it that when it was all said and done, Goldman's chief competitor in the bond market, Lehman Brothers, had been vanquished, and Goldman now had a monopoly on all fixed income trading basically in the world and was now the most profitable investment bank in the history of the world and is now not subject to any further regulation than they were prior to the crisis. So it's good to be Goldman Sachs. Do you believe that Congress should enact clawbacks, as Representative Welch, for one, has proposed?
Representative Welch's bill is actually pretty conservative compared to mine. I have 100% clawback. And if you look at, his is 50%. If you look at the manner in which these individuals and their companies and their private equity funds and their hedge funds are taxed, it isn't what the ordinary small business in my district pays, 35%. There's all these clauses and exemptions and the bonuses. How can they take these bonuses? Billions and billions of dollars when you've got unemployment in places like I represent,
we
which
all
is
get it.
17% unemployment.
Where do we stand with clawbacks from our... I think America completely understands that the money was taken from them. They're just confused as to why the Congress is not acting to get it back.
The American people are right. We should be acting. We in the House passed one measure, but it didn't encompass all of the firms that are getting these bonuses. My bill encompasses them all, and it takes 100% back. Yeah. Don't you think they owe it to the Republic?
I think that if you make money perpetrating insurance fraud, that you should have to give back the money that you made and be prosecuted for perpetrating insurance fraud. So.
And you know, Goldman Sachs was the #1 recipient of funds under the AIG
insurance scheme,
and yep. Under the insurance scheme, Société Nationale, a bank from France, was #1. But Goldman Sachs was the largest domestic firm, yeah. And remember, they weren't always a normal bank, right? They got under the Bank Holding Company Act
in the crisis.
Just before. That's right.
Yeah. No, I got it. Representative Kaptur, a pleasure. Keep at 'em. We need it in order to bring back investor, innovator capitalism in this country, which is how we got here in the first place. We might as well continue on that road.